first off is I would like to give each of the panelists just 1 minute, if they could use 1 minute to introduce themselves and their favourite use of data analytics or AI currently available. Is that fair? Actually, it's not about being fair. 1 minute to you, but then we take into account all the people in the room, call it 75. That's like over an hour we're giving each of you, if you consider it in their terms. So these guys have just been speaking. Should we start at the far end?
Okay, sure.
Anish, who I know as well, so I'm allowed to be rude to Anish. Anish, would you like to take a minute just to introduce yourself and your favourite use of data analytics or AI currently?
Yep, sure. So my name is Anish Mohammed. What's my interest in AI? I run 3 projects in AI. I have a submission for the X-Prize for AI. My interest is AI safety, and I build models that comply by whatever you describe as creation model. That's it.
Nice. Very succinct. Thank you. Karthik?
Hi, I'm Karthik Shashidhar. I'm a quant and data science consultant. Over the last couple of years, I've worked with 4 different fintech startups building out their entire quant capabilities. This includes a couple of marketplace lenders and a couple of robo-advisory startups. Most of my work so far has been in India. I recently moved to London. And my favorite application of AI, well, it's I like to keep things simple. I normally try as much as possible not to use AI. Because I believe that 99% of the problems can be solved using fairly simple techniques, and a lot of people try to use AI when it's not really required. So I try to keep things as simple as possible.
Great, thank you. Cool. Well, Alastair.
Yeah, I'm Alastair. I do consulting for wealth and asset managers. The way I use kind of data would be around communicating between asset managers and their clients, and using data visualization techniques and narratives to try and explain how money is managed.
Cool. Cool. Thank you. Did that include the favourite user case from outside of your own work?
A favourite use case? Something that always impressed me is actually like the translation. I think back to that was an impossible problem when I was a student, and it's kind of done now. And it's just very impressive that we've got there. We don't really talk about it.
Cool. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, so as I said, I'm John Spooner, head of analytics for SaaS for UK and Ireland. In terms of my favourite application, depends what you mean by favourite. But one application that I like is not AI per se, but in machine learning. I recently discovered a beer that the way that it gets brewed is based on machine learning algorithms, and I think that as a concept's quite cool.
Thank you. Cool.
Well, hi everybody, Noah Liot. I work for Glia Ecosystems. We are startups. My background is quant trading. I've been using machine learning algorithm in financial market for about 10 years now. And what we're doing right now is basically we use machine learning and SaaS technology, because we partner with SaaS, to basically enhance data and enrich data and bring knowledge into financial market and contextualization. My favorite use of AI would be general game playing. That for me is the coolest space, creating engines that can be applied to many different classes of problems.
Cool. Thanks very much. So next question. I was thinking there's a whole community around data analytics and AI, and me myself, I would love to understand who are the different tribes and what are the differences between them. I wonder if you can help us get under the skin of there being a data analytics community. What are the different parts of that, and how do they differ?
What do you mean by that? It's like any place, any religion has its faults. So if you were to talk to a data scientist, there's like a bunch of guys who are like very hardcore into R, a bunch of guys who are heavily into Python, and then there'll be libraries, and then every bit of it could be like a huge fight. If you offer them enough of alcohol, that will happen.
Well, this is what I'm starting to understand. What are the differences within the community? I mean, another way of approaching this could be, what's the best argument you've ever had about data analytics?
It's very contextual. It would be pretty hard to answer that one.
Okay.
I think in terms of the tribe question, I think it's all about skill sets, and there are data scientists that have got a huge amount of skill sets, and and some that are very deep in a particular area. So some of those skill sets would be understanding the technology architecture that is being used for some of these AI systems. You've also got then the experts in the data collection and the data storage. You've then got experts in the analytical algorithms. They've got a maths background.
I think that's a slightly different way of looking at it. I mean, you are kind of layering it. So there's a data engineering piece, which you're kind of referring to, a data science piece. And then there's a Bayesian. I wasn't going into the Bayesian versus frequentist kind of thing, causation versus causality versus correlation thing. These are like, the causality versus correlation thing is the biggest fight I've ever seen. So it's a standard thing to happen. But that's a very philosophical problem. That problem is not going to be solved. But in general terms, people pick smaller things to fight. And that's, sorry, I don't mean to be rude or anything, but it's generally what it is. It's like correlation versus causality is a huge problem, okay? And that's a really fundamental problem, and there are no obvious solutions to it. You can have a fight at the end of the world and you still will be the other part,
Did the fight lead to the end of the world?
I don't know, it's very possible.
So the biggest argument I've had on data analytics is on whether you need to understand your models. So I come from the school of thought that like when you're building a model, you first try to analyze the data, try to understand the data, understand what's happening there, and then try to figure out what kind of a model is probably going to explain and give you the kind of answer that you're looking to answer the question that you're looking for, not give you the answer you're looking for. But there is a different school of people. These are probably, I would probably classify them as more of a machine learning kind of people. They are like just throw there was a nice XKCD comic on that, which is basically like put all the data in a pile, put it into a linear algebra machine and wait for it to give the answers. So what if the answers are crap? Stir the machine. So that's the other side.
Yeah,
And I've had
it's actually a real mathematical model. It's a random selection. So what you're doing is, okay, instead of all algorithms, think of all set of all algorithms. You randomly select them and test them. You will find out the result. But if you are smart enough, you will know upfront by intuition. Okay, this thing works for this, and then you pick that and use it, and you optimize it for that. So it's the brute force way of doing things, and otherwise the smart way of doing things. You can pick whatever you want.
Given how much competition we have, I don't think brute force is so bad.
Okay.
But actually on that, about those black box and stuff, this has been a trend for the last 2-3 years now. There are massive initiatives to try to understand those black box and stuff. For example, DARPA and InQtel, which is a venture capital fund at DARPA in the US, is massively invested in trying to look into what is taking place in those black boxes.
You don't even need to know exactly what goes into
No,
the
it's
black
feature
box.
identification.
Yeah, I mean, not even feature identification. If you can know the knapsack. So I got some funding from SIBN to do research on that. It's called obol.io, and that's my spare time interest. So you could actually get very good intuitions to your models without knowing exactly what it is. So essentially you get a feel of a knapsack that you actually have. You can get bounds. And that's the start of it. If you get it better, I mean, this is without even revealing what the features are.
That makes sense for me. I mean, for me, this black box idea is just a lack of understanding of what's going on, and that can understand, because as you said, if you have a black box, you can sell that. I mean, again, going from the financial world,
you need to give them assurance though. So the key is assurances, and to me, that's the key. It's like, it is impossible to teach the mathematical intuition everyone in the world to make the right decision. But if you can actually make it possible for a third party to verify for you without revealing what you're doing, right? That's what you want. So literally, I give you a box. You can ask him, is he doing the right thing? So imagine you went to Google, right? Google now has been actually fined 2 billion for fucking up, right? Now, European Union has no way of actually verifying that all the time. Imagine you had this black box property. All the European Union need to know is like, check the flag on this thing. Are they doing the right thing? End the story, right? And then you can have a smart contract saying, every time when they turn it off, charge them $1 billion.
But in addition to what you were saying, you don't necessarily need those black boxes.
It's a worst case scenario. It's a worst case scenario.
Because in any engineering problem, the most elegant solution is often the best one. Almost every single time, the most elegant solution is the best one. So as you were saying, 99% of the use cases out there, very simple machine learning algorithm can solve them. You don't need to go into deep convolutional neural networks, adversarial neural networks. Those kind of very complex algorithm that is like top-notch bleeding edge, and everybody wants to use them because it's fun, it sounds great. Most problems are structured. That's the reality of the market right now. Most problems are structured and need simple solution to them.
I once told a client that data that they had didn't need big data to, you didn't need big data tools to analyze it. And the client got offended.
We just call it a big data tool.
Yeah, you should call
finally
it
I
that way.
ended up doing that.
Yeah, one of those.
Called regression, but
Cool. Not, I worry we're going to have to leave you all in a room together just to get through this. But loving it, thank you. I think there's a question about what can we do for ourselves, and when, what's the DIY approach to analytics? How far can we go ourselves? And when do we know that we need help from other people? How do we find the right other people to work with? So I guess it's a question about what are our own limits, and how should partnerships be developed with experts?
Well, I think the first thing that you as individuals have to do is work out, well, what am I trying to do? What's the business question that I'm trying to solve? Because it may be AI and machine learning is not the right way to solve that particular problem. So it's what is the business problem? And then if I was to solve this, what is the benefit, what's the value the organisation will get from solving that particular business problem?
I think also another problem that you're going to find very quickly is that you can do a lot of stuff yourself in an exploratory manner. Now, if you want to make it a product or an enterprise solution, scalable and reliable system, that's a whole other problem of engineering. And that's where I think you should start looking for actual experts to help you. Because it's very easy to find your own algorithm in your garage because you have some nice libraries and some data. And most of people who had coursework in that field done this for assignment and stuff like that. Now, if you want to turn this into a product, make it scalable, reliable, understanding what's going on in it, that's another topic. It has a lot of complexity.
Cool. Alice?
Yeah, I think, the internet and social networking have really kind of come on, and finding people who actually know things and are prepared to share it is actually much easier than it has been. So there is so much good content and networks out there.
Do you have sources you want to reference that people might be able to use?
Stack Overflow.
Right.
To be honest, I used to have looked things up in books, and then going on, and then there's informal networks like this. So it's actually much easier to find people and get going. And you don't really kind of need to go further, and you'll know when you need to go further, and you need actual time to get things solved.
Cool. Guys, any thoughts at the end on our limits for us and how to engage with other people when we want an expert, and how to recognize when we need help?
I think I mentioned that we try to implement a simple solution at first. For one very underutilized tool is in Excel. There's a tool to create charts. I don't think people use it as much as they should. Because by just looking at the data in a visual manner can give you a lot of insights that just doing all kinds of statistical analysis may not give you. So just start with simple stuff, start with averages, start with charts and so on. And then soon you'll hit a point when you'll be like, okay, I need to understand it, but I don't know how to understand it. And at that point of time, you can call an expert, and you first show them what you have done so far, so that they know they don't repeat what you have done, because then you'll be wasting your fee. But then after that, they'll take over it.
Cool.
You kind of asked us how one measures one's incompetence.
How do you measure yours, Anish?
You can actually use reference points, right? So, as in, I can come up to you and say, I've done this, what do you think? Is it complete rubbish or full rubbish? Right? And you could cross-validate by giving it to 10 people and saying, some of them will be diplomatic, won't tell you you are being an idiot, but others will tell you you are being an idiot. And obviously, there are obvious places to go. To Kaggle would be a good place to go to if you really have good data set and you want to get somebody to look at it. But then the thing is, if you know what you're looking for, it's pretty easy to get point consulting. It's like if you really know what you really want. Okay, I have built a model, I want to scale this. Then you could have a reasonable judgment of what your things look like and what is that you actually want help with. Then it's pretty easy. You can get at a very reasonable rate the amount of stuff that you need to done within budget. But if you have no clue, and if your consultant figures out that you have no clue, this is the problem with knowing your incompetence. So if you're incompetent, you don't know that, and if your consultant figures it out, you're done.
Okay, thanks. So I've just got one more question, so please, I hope you guys are ready with yours out there. Just as a final thought, we look up to you as experts, but I'm curious who you look up to as experts. So I'm sure as we all have questions out here, you have questions about this subject too. Everyone's clearly passionate. So where do you look up to in this field, and what are the questions you have for those experts?
Well, personally, I think this is a pioneering field. So the problem is that you're basically innovating if you're trying to make it in a business. So I look up to very advanced laboratories which do applied stuff. So for example, OpenAI, DeepMind, those people. But I think also it's a small community eventually. Even though it's a very much a buzzword right now, people who can speak about the subject from an advanced perspective, people from around this room, for example, I'm pretty sure you can find them in other events and so on and meet them again. It's a small community. And it's more about, bringing stuff to one another. I also look mostly at art science, like physicists and stuff like that. Yeah, because most of those tools were used by art scientists from a mathematical perspective a long time ago, and just producing them into actual tools. So that would be where I look for inspiration or ideas or guidance.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm quite fortunate in the fact that in my job I work across a number of different industries, and I think what I always find is there are certain industries that are sometimes ahead of the curve with regards to analytics, and sometimes those that are behind. So it's then working out which particular industries for a particular topic area are actually using innovative ways of artificial intelligence, machine learning, analytics, and how could that then be mapped onto another use case in financial services.
Cool.
So we have a lot of user groups that get together to share that information.
Cool. So any particular industries you feel are generally further ahead?
I think financial services are, in terms of some of their ways that they're using data.
I'm spotting some dissent on the end.
Yeah, well, I would agree to disagree with that one, because I spend, along with him, a reasonable amount of time in financial services. I think they're far ahead.
So who's further ahead than them?
I think, in general, startups that actually do just plain analytics for various things, they are way ahead of them in adopting, methods and things like that. So machine vision. If you look at machine vision, autonomous vehicles, those guys are like streets out of financial services.
Okay.
Advertising.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
Suppose you mean Google and Facebook by advertising, or?
I think it goes a lot wider.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It'll be the set.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you were to create a subset.
We'll just rattle off where you look to for inspiration for our panelists down that end now, before we come to our Q&A time.
I was going to think, so Mike Bostock, who invented the D3.js library, it just takes the whole area of visualization and it just does it, and you can use it right across whatever industry you're in.
Cool.
Most of my stuff in, I think, analytics, data science and so on is self-taught. But I think the one blog that I read which inspired most of it is written by this guy called Andrew Gelman. He's a professor of statistics and social sciences at Columbia. So you should check out his blog if you haven't checked out already. I think it makes a lot of sense in most cases, and he's fairly ahead of the curve. Not particularly technical. It's not like, I don't think you can describe what he does as like very advanced AI, but he's a great statistician. So I think I've learned most of what I've kind of learned in terms of statistics and data science has been like from Gelman's blog.
Could you please repeat the name?
Andrew Gelman, Gelman.
Thank you.
He's from Columbia.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, me. I was lucky enough to be in a couple of research labs. I used to be in MSR. A couple of senior guys in Facebook and other places are my, how could I say, well, at the same time as I was there, so I know them. And the place I went to PhD, Vapnik was there, so I talked to him on the corridor. Then Jeremy actually taught me data science, so I'm kind of lucky. I'm lazy, but I'm lucky. So literally, I have friends who are like And the guy who actually founded MIRI, Machine Intelligence Research Institute, is a very good friend of mine. So I have access to all the guys. And 2 weeks ago, I was in AI for Good. I had access to all the guys down there. So literally, I could send an email to most of the guys. They recognize me. Normally, they respond to my questions, even though some of them are really stupid. Because Anish, you're being stupid. You should just read the documentation. So mostly, it's the question of like, I haven't read the documentation. I'm being lazy. Just sending a note to the guy who wrote it, saying, "Please help me out." He goes, "No, read it."
Cool. So let's turn to the audience. Hopefully you've got some thoughts ready.
So this might be the wrong question to ask for this panel, but is there any future of analytics that doesn't involve machine learning or AI? Outside of the keep it simple, stupid concept?
No, keep it simple, stupid is, I think, vastly underestimated. So I think there is most of the analytics will not involve machine learning or machine learning or statistical learning. Most of the work you can get done with fairly simple stuff like averaging, stuff like kind of summarizing data and like kind of whatever you call the group by kind of stuff. But and with that you can go a long way. Sorry?
Pivot table.
Yeah, pivot table, exactly. You do most of your job. So in a lot of cases you don't really. So even in the future of analytics, I think while there is going to be like a lot of cutting edge stuff that Noah talked about in his speech, but like I mean, it's like that's going to be for specific problems. So for most of the day-to-day business analytics you need to do, I think you can get by with fairly simple stuff.
I think one of the things that we focus on so much is the algorithms that are being used and the complexity of that. What we actually need to spend more time is, well, how do we articulate the benefit of that to people that are not like us, and get them to, because a lot of this is enabling people to take a leap of faith, to trust that. And I think we, as an analytical community, know the power of analytics, but not everyone knows that. And it's how do we get them onto a journey to embrace that and adopt that. So an example that I've got is when SAS delivered the forecasting system for Waitrose that forecasted demand of every single product to every single store. Getting the store managers to trust the system was the hardest bit of that project, rather than delivering the right algorithm for the right forecast. And it's the same with self-driving cars. The concept's great, but you've got that leap of faith that you have to overcome for people to trust that machine. So you need mechanisms to explain the results of that, rather than just the computer says so.
On what you're saying, actually, I'm just picking up a paradox right now, which is one industry has been pretty much keen on taking up analytics, and that for years. I mean, talking back to World War II, it's a defense and security industry. I mean, operational research was effectively analytics, and that's where it's all coming from. And weirdly enough, that's where it's the most sensitive. But right now, defense and security industry have no problem believing analytical systems.
Yeah.
Whereas more simpler industry where much less is at stake, often have an instinctive resistance to it.
Cool. Yeah, hi.
Sorry, I really appreciate you guys trivializing the fact that machine learning and stuff is not necessarily needed in a lot of these cases. But I'd like to counter that and really pose the question to the panel that if firms notice that companies are going to solve these problems in that sort of a simple way, then that's a huge gap where companies can take advantage of machine learning and actually disrupt the market. And I think that's really the reason why, if you look at the asset management industry, right, everybody does all this statistical analysis, they've got quantitative traders, and I think you're one of the quantitative traders, so I'd love to get your opinion. But if you look at that, I mean, that's a zero-sum game, right? So effectively, somebody has to win in the best way possible, and I'd love to get your views. And I think that's why machine learning is so critical. So if businesses, everybody apply this simple, I agree with you, most problems can be solved with statistical matters, but to get that edge and to really make the big difference and disrupt the market, and I believe you have to use machine learning. And finally, to touch on that point, if we look at the McKinsey surveys and the IoT market and the 17 trillion prediction that everyone's making, technology moves very rapidly and fast. And therefore, for those reasons, I'm very interested to know why you think, if everybody just did the trivial solving their problems in that way, would they not miss the gap and somebody would effectively take advantage of it?
No, that's a fair question. But no, the reality is that where do you get the most of your value? Now there is this it's actually not true. So, but that's a very good example. It's the 80-20 rules. Where do you get your value from? And do you want to get that tiny bit of extra edge? And are you focusing on the right extra edge? From my view, the most complex analytics currently are able to contextualize the information. Do you need that in your business? Do you need the actual contextualization? Do you need the analytics on top of analytics, the metadata and the meta-analytics? Do you need all this to do what you're doing? Or is your industry at a stage where just doing simple stuff already adds so much value compared to your competitors or your rival? That's the question. Now, in quantitative finance, in trading, I can speak about that because indeed, if you look at typical trading, daily, what's going on in the banks, forget about that. Those guys make money on a lot of stuff. They don't make money on innovation or being smart. If you look at hedge fund, buy-side, HFT firms, and so on, those guys are pretty much top-notch in terms of technology, and they have amazing analytics and stuff running in the background. So you have this gap. Why do banks don't get deep neural network massively at scale and so on, at least financial markets? Well, because they don't really need it. They don't make money from that.
They're not allowed to make money out of it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're not allowed to profit.
From a
There's a
regulation
different side, that's the sell side and the buy side. I agree, the sell side doesn't make money that way, but the buy side's a zero-sum game.
Yes. Well, it's not zero-sum game, but still, there is an edge, definitely, that you can by being better than others.
Just wanted to ask a quick
Thank
question about automation in the workplace. Do you think it's going to replace most jobs that we have today, the technology you're developing, or do you think it's being overhyped?
Yeah, I'm happy to give it a go. I would say it's definitely going to impact work significantly. So you can pick one randomly. I'll give you an example of healthcare. So my first degree is in medicine. It's already, you can see the number of startups coming in, and you can see the prediction. So look at the MRIs and look at pathology. The results you're getting is really, really good. Humans can't compete. So if you continue to do that, and look at autonomous vehicles, right? You're done in that sense. And think about US, 34% of all people there as a job title is driver. Guess what?
No more drivers, unless we count people in urban areas, and the insurance issue, which I spoke about earlier.
I'll come back to the legal side of it as well, that you spoke earlier.
I think though, if you're in a job that requires creativity, and you've got a job
I
that
think
requires
that's going to be
everything,
very interesting. That's very interesting.
Or-
Both are being challenged significantly.
Oh yeah, but that's on the next stage. But I think you've still got the jobs that require creativity, empathy, some sort of imagination. That they may well get automated, but there's ones that are more.
Yeah, there's a report by
more
FHI actually produced a report. Future Humanities Institute, I think it's Future Humanities Institute, Anders and the rest of the class did a report. Read that. It gives you an intuition. They are a bit optimistic in that sense, but definitely gives you an intuition. But, don't bet on it would be my, I am positive in terms of UBI plus, and I'm willing to survive on a UBI plus. I've made up my mind that's going to happen. So that's the way I see it. And a lot of the guys I know globally, they all agree to that.
Yeah.
These are like very serious guys.
Quick check.
Sure.
UBS plus, just to
UBI plus.
what?
Universal basic income.
Okay.
I agree with that idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think though it might be overhyped, and that's my instinct.
We'll see. We'll
Can
find
I ask
out.
what responsibility you feel as producers that you have towards making sure that very bold and sort of nation-changing policies like that get put in place before the impact?
Absolutely, yeah.
So do your sort of relevant companies and companies in your space actively work towards those ends in the same way that maybe a sort of an oil company might need to sort of work towards mitigating the effects of their industry? Is there active work going on in the analytics space?
I don't think that's actually there in that sense, but a lot of those people who are founders are active in the UBI plus community. They are willing to put in money privately. They haven't actually put any money officially as their company was, but all the guys I know from this space really recognize it. Some of them actually put some money in the FLI, and some have put in FHI and CEA and other places. So people are working on it, but there's a difference between perception. So it's like, imagine if you are like Sergey and you turn up and go, I'm going to officially give Google's money to do something. That's different from Sergey turning up and giving you a couple of million, right? That's a difference.
And earlier you were speaking about Miri and so on. That's exactly what Miri is doing. So
But Miri is doing very different things. There.
Security about it, safety and security of AI in the long term. Because that's basically, they're not looking at social impact, they're looking at security and safety of AI in sense. But no, I think there is, as you said, there is a big lack. From my perspective, there is a massive hole in terms of regulation and understanding of what is machine learning and automatization of analytics and this kind of thing from a governmental perspective. Those guys have no clue what's coming their way, and they are not ready for that.
Last 7 minutes. I've got a whole bunch of hands going up suddenly. We'll do as many as we can. If you could keep them quick so we could get in more.
So very quick and easy one. What are the kind of trends that we have today or upcoming on the regulatory reporting technology as far as analytics or artificial intelligence is concerned? Any trends that we are looking at?
Can you repeat the question? That's very hazy.
This is with respect to regulatory reporting technology. Any kind of technology which is in today's capital markets in terms of regulatory reporting. So we have your financial control authorities, you have your investment banking companies generating their data, putting that across for the regulatory reporting.
Yeah, I'm working on MiFID at the moment.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a huge kind of finance regulation where we're having to report every transaction which comes into effect on the 3rd of January. So my feeling is that everyone is working on that in this year. In 2018, we'll end up working for the FCA in analysing just a huge amount of data that they're going to have it and makes no sense to them because I can't even see how it's going to match up. It's going to take them years to get into it.
That's why everyone's going to be
Cool.
And sort of getting back to the heart of analytics, probably this is more for SaaS. How many statistical models do you have? Since you were there in a just number, but even otherwise, how do you pick a model for a particular problem? What's the rationale, or what dictates sort of?
So as I talked about, so there's a huge number of algorithms that are available, and the key is having an automated approach where the data works out what is the best algorithm or structure of algorithm to solve the particular business question in mind. Because what you've got inputs that are going into a model, and you're then trying to make a decision off the back of that. And what SAS is trying to do is, yes, build a lot of algorithms, but also have a framework that allows an automated process of picking the right model for the right business problem.
You set criteria for this.
So yeah, you've got the ability to set them criteria to say, I want a model that minimises maybe the number of false positives and false negatives that I've got and minimises my misclassification rate. Or maybe I have give me the best model that gives me the best average profit, for example. So you can set thresholds, and then the data is going to learn and pick the best algorithm based on that.
Cool.
Yes, we are on Fintech meetup. Please show hands who are working on buy side. No, who are working on. Okay, this is a very specific question.
Cool.
Okay, and so you will understand the following question. What is the key difference between machine learning in self-driving car and implementation for hedge funds? Because a self-driving car will anywhere follow the best practice and the best rules to drive safety. The economics.
That's a strong assumption you're making. I advise one of those topics.
No, it's not. The differentiator against between the self-driving cars and hedge funds is that hedge fund is making money arbitraging against the trend, yeah. And what we discovered, it's the general economic nature. And what we discovered that a lot of hedge funds starting to implement machine learning and use the same data sets. They just hire 100 different data scientists for this deep learning. And what will happen by our vision in 1 or 2 years, it will be the huge synchronization of visions between the big
They will reach equilibrium essentially, that's what it is, and then the delta will be whatever else you can find.
See, there's one thing in common between hedge funds and self-driving cars. A self-driving car, when it goes on a road, it will have to navigate other self-driving cars, and it will need to account for the behavior of other self-driving cars to figure out how it will go. A hedge fund similarly needs to figure out how other people, the rest of the market is trading. So in both cases, I think there is a very strong feedback from the rest of the market. So in that sense, it's like very.
I think this case is very different. Maybe try to explain.
Huge loop, and the winners will be hedge funds that will implement specific algo trading that will play against the huge trend that de facto, not de jure, de facto will be synchronized by these machines.
Let me tell you something. When I started in finance and started trading on the buy side, I started to create deep neural networks already at the time that were predicting market price, and we were discussing this earlier with one of the members of the audience. It failed miserably because the system is chaotic, and you cannot predict a chaotic system, no matter how good is your algorithm or no matter is your data, unless you have the absolute perfect picture in real time, which good luck with that. The way I tackle the problem is that I reduce the dimensionality of the problem by not asking my algorithm to find the best price or when to trade, but by asking my algorithm to pick the best strategy and when to use it. And you see, by doing that, you remove a lot of the noise, because your problem is no longer predict the price, it's just what tool should you use when. And back to your question about self-driving car and so on, the assumption that you will reach equilibrium is because you assume that everything will be 100% traded and that we will reach market efficiency and perfection. Why would we do that? There is still a human factor, there is still a human behavior influence in the system. When you code the system, you put your bias, your intrinsic bias, human bias into your system. So those bias still does exist, whether you like it or not.
Cool. We got the last question. This guy's had his hand up for so long. Yes, sir, you. This is the last one, and we are out of time, so if you could make it really short.
Right, so with the range of automation that's happening across industries, right? We're thinking that universal income could somehow arise. Right, but from your knowledge, how is this going to come about, for the funding for it? Because not all countries have a sovereign wealth fund, so how is this actually going to be put into practicality?
Okay, all the conversations I've heard so far, they've been looking at different ways of monetizing things. All the way crazy, as it might seem, monetizing data. So literally imagine, what's the value of Facebook? So many billion. What's the value of Google? So many billion. What's the basis of that? It's actually the data that humans provided, and it should be divided up to the humans and given back to them. And that's one proposal. And there are lots of things. The whole earth has resources. It needs to be divided up in an equal manner somehow. I'm not an economist. I just help people model crazy shit. That's what I do. Okay. So I work with lots of people around the globe. So I've been in conversation with very senior people in the US. They try to do some of these things. A lot of interest is happening there. Everybody is throwing different. It's a very hard problem. There's no easy answers. I would say I don't have an answer right now. The thing MIT, the guys from MIT, DCI, and a bunch of other guys, they had a project called PDS, I think. The proposal from them was to actually derive value out of data, personal data, and actually use that to offer some sort of income, right? That's like an extreme end. Everything has been proposed, right? It depends on the country and what they have as a resource. I don't know. There was other proposal to tax robots. So there were different models proposed by different sets of people. It could be a summation of all of this. It's a knapsack problem. So you go, this is what I want, and this is the set of tools I have. This is my knapsack, and depending on the country, I might change it.
Cool. That is time. So to wrap up, I hope you've all got what you came for tonight. If you haven't, let us know. But you should have some great examples, great things to follow up on, great ways to be smarter in this space. So first off, massive thank you to SAS for hosting us here. It's a We Are Fintech event, so keep an eye out for future events. And finally, just massive thank you. Thank you to the audience for coming, and if we could thank the panel, please.